Are you in good hands? Whose hands would you say you're in? I'm Dr. Keshia Keith, licensed clinical mental health counselor, and today we are talking about whose hands you're in. It matters whose hand you're in. Are you in good hands? Because a lot of times there's been this quote that was stated, and it says it matters whose hands it's in because basketball in the hands of Michael Jordan is worth millions. A football in the hands of Michael Irvin was worth millions. But if it's in the right hands, it matters whose hands they're in. It matters whose hands that particular gift is in, or that particular ability, or that particular operation, or that particular segment. It matters whose hands it's in, because to a lot of people, depending on whose hands those hands could be $1 million hands, $1 billion hands, or they could just be your hands. And are your hands $1 million hands? Are they $1 billion hands? Even if you don't see it right now, can you see it far off in the future? Can you see that what is in your hands is a $1 million idea, that it is a $1 million project, it can expand, it can develop, it can grow? Or are you stuck thinking, well, who am I? What is it that I can bring to the table? And even if it's in my hands, and even if I had all the education and all the training and all the skill set, what will make this particular thing just that thing that becomes one of those invaluable things that you have, where you're the next Michael Jordan, or the next Michael Irvin, or the next great scientist, or the next great philosopher? What is it about you that you can see in yourself? What is it that you believe about yourself? Because God says that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. He says that you can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. It is how you believe it. It is how you perceive it. It is how you see it. So are you in good hands? Because if you are in good hands, then you are reminded of all the things that God is able to do through you, in you, and around you, and for you. But are you waiting in anticipation of those things that He has designed and He has planned and predestined for you to have? Or are you in a space where you are frustrated and you just can't think about anything that might be $1 million anything, because you are currently looking at a situation that feels like all hope is lost, that feels like it's doom and gloom, that feels like these things are just not happening fast enough? So when I even hear about something that says $1 million, I'm thinking, yeah, that's crazy, because I can't even figure out what I'm doing tomorrow and if that will work. Because the ideas that I have, although I know that on the surface somewhere there is a great thing, there's a great idea, I'm going with it, I'm in the flow, but will this really even make a difference? But it matters whose hands it's in, because it is in your hands right now, because you've been given the gifts and the talents and the abilities to do those things. But are you putting them into His hands? Are you shifting and putting those things into God's hands? Are you asking Him and allowing Him to tell you what it is that those plans are, what those plans need to look like? Are you allowing yourself to really be able to do those things that allow you to sit and be still, so that you can listen and hear what it is that you're being directed to do? Because when you get too busy, it becomes too noisy, it becomes too much, and you have to be able to drown out the noise, because the noise can be overwhelming. The noise can be deafening because it is too loud. There are too many things going on. Your mind is too busy in a whirlwind of ideas and all these things, and things that seem like great ideas, but will they be the right idea? Or even at that, are they a God idea? Are they a God idea? The idea that He has designed for you to be able to bring forth on this earth? Or is it just a good idea for you because you're like, okay, yeah, I could do that because I'm great at maybe baking, or I'm great at art, or I'm great at writing, or I'm great at all of these things. But, there are so many people that can bake and can write and do art. What makes me so different? What makes whatever I'm doing that very thing that is going to just be like boom, because we are looking at it from the outside looking in, where we see so many overnight, what we think are the overnight successes of people, and we don't really know the backstory. We don't know how many years they heard no's before they got the yes. We don't know how many years they really, really wrestled with themselves and were frustrated and said, why in the world am I even doing this? Is this even going to be worth it for anybody? Is anybody going to listen to this? Is anybody going to even care that these things are being said or that these things are being done? What makes a difference? Because anybody can do what I'm doing. Anybody can be in spaces. But what makes it a good idea or a God idea? It matters whose hands it's in. Because in my hands, I can say, yeah, I have this resume and I have these experiences and I have these expertise, but that will get me but so far. In the hands of God, they are multiplied, because whatever He does well. And whatever He does, He causes good success. And that success might not be $1 million idea, but maybe one day it stops somebody who wants to take their own life, or who wants to say and keep on telling the narrative that everything is just bad, everything is garbage, everything is trash. And then that one day they are stopping to listen one time and they get the opportunity to realize, okay, wait a minute, let me reshift this, let me refocus, let me have an attitude of gratitude, let me focus in on something else, because I really don't want to not be here. I want to be productive, but right now I don't like the way I feel. I feel yucky. I've got too much going on and it feels so overwhelming, so heavy for me. I cannot bear it. But that one thing that they heard, God allowed that to be that thing that helped them to decide that they were not going to take the drastic actions that they thought they were going to take. They're going to go another route, and they're going to run on and take it day by day and step by step and keep on, because they don't always get it right every day. But every day you get a chance to wake up is a new start. It's a new day to be able to do it again. You get a do-over. You get a chance to see what that day has in store for you, because it is you being able to take the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step. And pretty soon you will find that those steps have led to a great journey, a great body of work potentially that you didn't know that you had inside of you, but because you got up, because you decided that I'm going to think differently, I'm going to do something differently. But it matters whose hands it's in, because had that not been the word that came forth, then that person might not have had that opportunity to think differently or do something differently. But that's only if I'm looking at what's in my hands, because in my hands that might be possible, but in God's hands, He allows those things that we do to be able to get to the right spaces, in the right places, in the right doors, with the right people, for the right purposes, because you never know what it is that you are giving right now, what you are doing, and how it's going to make a difference. You might not see how it's going to make a difference. Why does this even matter? And today I'm here to tell you that it matters, because it is what God has given you, is what He has put in your hand. So whatever is in your hand, you use it to the best of your ability. You work that thing, and you work it as if you are working unto the Lord. Because if you are working unto the Lord, you are not worried about Sally, Sue, Jim, or Bob and what they have to say about it, what they want to put their 2 cents in, because you didn't ask for their 2 cents, but they got to give it anyway. And you are not thinking about what they are saying. You are not focusing on what they are saying. You are sitting and staying attuned and listening in for what He is saying, because what He is saying are the roadmaps and the plans that He has designed for you that will prosper you, give you a hope and a expected end. So you have to be able to be mindful of those things and be able to understand that this, in my hands, it might not be much, it might not look like much, but in His hands, He makes it all new. He multiplies, He refreshes, He does all of the work, He does what is necessary. What only I can do over here, and what I limit my mind and my thoughts to, He makes astronomical. He makes exceeding abundantly above all I can ever think or ask. So then when my mind gets that little bit of itty bitty limitation in it, and it starts to see that certain things might not go so well, or might not be that thing that I need, or that thing that turns out so well, I can remember that I'm only looking at what's in my hand. Only looking at what's in my hand, because there is someone greater than Michael Jordan. There is someone greater than all of the sports and the philosophers and the writers and the execs and everybody else. There is somebody who is greater than them. And because he made them, he made you. And so it is that he put those things in them and allowed them to be able to use them. And in that same sense, you have to give what is in your hands over to God and not hold on to it so that you have just your limited perspective, but in your hands so that it grows, so that whatever you touch is prosperous and you have good success, so that whatever it is that you are putting your mind to, that you are staying focused on the fact that he is going to make it, he is going to shift it, he is going to craft it, he is going to mold it into whatever it needs to be, because you have talked to God about it. You have made him your business partner, and you have talked to him about what it is that he wants to do through you in this earth, what it is that he needs to get out through you, so that you know and understand that this is a marathon, this is not a sprint. This is where I have to put on my endurance. And I have to allow myself to pace myself, so that when I try to get ahead of myself and try to see what's happening over here or happening over there, or wait a minute, I've been trying this for a long time. Let me see what's coming up here. What fruit is being produced? What do I see here? And then you may not start to see too much. You might see some little buds, but you're like, okay, not so much. But do not get weary in doing what is good, because in due season you will reap if you faint not. And it's about the not fainting, because if we pass out, then we will absolutely miss it. We will miss that thing when God is ready to give us his good pleasure, and we are too busy focusing in on everything else that has made us tired, and we, as being passed out, we cannot get up and we can't function and flow the way we need to. So that is why we have to allow ourselves to pace ourselves. We have to allow ourselves to run this race in a way that we can breathe, and we can breathe in rhythm, because the breath that we have is the breath that he gives, and we have to be able to pace it so that we can continue to finish and move forward and do those things that we have been given and purposed and designed to do. But it matters what's in your hands, and it matters who you give it to. If you give it over to God, he will allow what you are doing, he will allow it to prosper. But even in the doubtful season, you still have to keep on reminding yourself that it is his good pleasure. And if it is his good pleasure, if it is his will, then he will cause it to come forth. He will cause it to do what it needs to do, and not in the time that we think that it should be done. Because when we think it should be done, it's like yesterday. But when he knows that the time is ready, because we have cultivated our inward parts to the degree that there is no second guessing. There is no, okay, wait a minute, this is taking too long. There's no focusing on the time, but there is focusing on he who is timeless, he who stepped out of time, and he who has created all things and made all things new. And in him we live, we move, and we have our being. So we will allow what is in our hands to be in his hands and place it over there so that he can handle it, so that he can work and do what only he can do in these situations. And in this time, if you are feeling frustrated, if you are feeling down, if you are feeling frustrated, I want you to know that God is mindful of you, that he is wanting for you to have peace, because he is peace. In him is peace. And so it is you taking time to talk to God about it. Let him know that you are frustrated. He doesn't mind hearing how you feel, because you can have conversation with God and allow him to be able to take those heavy burdens, to take those things that you keep trying to work out and figure out, but you just don't see it. You don't see the resolution, but he already knows. So giving it over to him, allowing him to be the one who makes your burdens light. But you have to cast your cares on him. And if by chance in this day you are like, this right here was for me. I want to share this with somebody else because I think they might also benefit. Go ahead and feel free to definitely do that because I want you to be able to share the goodness, share the inspiration, share the encouragement because we want to make sure that people understand that it matters whose hands it's in. And you know, all state says you're in good hands with them, but you're in the best capable hands when you put what you are doing and the work that you have in the hands of God so that He can work with it and through it. And He can show up and do what only He can do. Because man can only do but so much. But when God does the work, He makes it is well. He makes it well. And the blessings of the Lord make it rich, and He addeth no sorrow. You're not sorrowful because of God. You are sorrowful because you are focusing in with your natural, and you are allowing your emotions to be that focal point that is overwhelming and overcharging and overstimulating. But today, remember, we are putting it in His hands because His hands are better. They are more capable. They are stronger than anything that we face, and they can allow us to continue to endure and finish this race that we are on. So you have a great day. I want you to remember to like, share, follow because I really want to have this conversation of encouragement and inspiration with you as we continue to keep moving forward. Have an awesome day.